Hey guys, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Katie, and today I'm going to be talking about all the books that I read in July. So if you recall, July was my mood reading month. That didn't go quite as I planned. I did get some mood reading done, which I am happy about, thankfully. Most of it happened during my camping trip, but I did mostly read book review books, which is fine. I needed to get to them anyways, but yeah, so I did end up having some really great books. So let's talk about my stats really quick. I don't have many stats. It's just how many of each star rating and how many Christian fiction to mainstream fiction I had. So I read 8 Christian fiction this month, and then I also read 5 mainstream fiction, which is secular fiction. And then I had 1 3-star, 1 3.5 star. I'm just looking down at my reading journal. Or 2 3.5 stars. And then I had 5 4 stars, 1 4.5 star, and 3 5 stars. So not bad, nothing under 3. And I did DNF 2 books. So let's talk about those really quick. So 2 books I've DNF'd for 2 different reasons. So the first one was How to Marry Keanu Reeves in 90 Days by K.M. Jackson. So basically I wanted to read it because the cover was cute, and I do like Keanu Reeves. At least in his older movies. Not so much anymore, but I kind of just wanted to try it out. It's been on my list like forever, but I don't even think I got like a chapter or 2 in, and there was some innuendos, and I was just like, no, I'm not in the mood for this. Thank you. No, thank you. So I DNF'd that one pretty quickly. And then the next one was Oceans of Sand by Jessica Flory, and she was an author that wrote to me over on Instagram and asked if I would read her book. I said sure, because it was a middle grade fantasy. I was excited for it, but I DNF'd it actually pretty quickly. I did not know if it was Christian or fiction or not. She didn't say, but I now know it's secular fiction. As during like the very beginning, they started talking about worshiping false gods. And so I was like, no, I'm not going to read this. No, I was very uncomfortable reading it, and like there's some stuff that I can get by in books, but when my discerning spirit like screams out at me and my stomach starts to turn into knots, that's when I know that God doesn't want me to read that or share it on my channel. So I DNF'd that one. Would not recommend it. But yeah, so I DNF'd that one quickly, and I told her I'm sorry, thank you for thinking of me, but I cannot finish it. So told her the reasons why. She was very kind. So always be honest, kindly honest, and be honest. All right, so 2 DNFs this month. Not bad, if I'm being honest. Okay, so I'm going to do the mainstream secular fiction first, and then I'm going to go on to the Christian fiction. So I have them all nicely, kindly labeled in my journal. All right, so the first one is I read 1 middle grade this month, and that was I think it's the 3rd book in I think it's called the Sinister Summer. Yeah, the Sinister Summer series by Kirsten White, and this one was called Camp Creepy. I'm like on the edge of DNFing them because I'm just not enjoying the storylines that much, but I want to know what happened to the parents. That's literally the only reason why I'm sticking with this series. The mysteries in each different camp setting that they go to like a water park, and then they go to like a creepy castle, and then in this one they go to a camp. And it's all during the summer, and their parents dropped them off at their aunt's house. And so their aunt is taking them to all these different places during the summer, and they each have a different mystery that kind of goes along with where are their parents and why are they missing. So in this one, we're kind of seeing like their parents are not the only ones missing. So I'm like, I just want to know what happens to the parents. I don't really care about the extra mysteries. So for now, I'm gonna try the 4th book, but it's just kind of an average series. I gave this one 3 stars. I give all of them between 2 and 3 stars. They're just meh to me. They're not the greatest. I love middle grade books, but this series is just kind of middle of the road. Not that great for me. All right, the next one I read 1 manga book, and I read the 2nd book in the Those Not So Sweet Boys. And of course, I can't read the author's name. I think it's Yoko Nogiri, I think. And I gave this one 3.5 stars. I am enjoying the series as a whole. I'm only on book 2. I think there's between 5 and 7 in this series, and I am going to read the 3rd book hopefully next month. But it's about this girl who just is kind of told by the head of her private school, hey, you can't work at your job because you didn't get permission from the school to work, so you will lose your scholarship. So they say if you get these boys who have been, oh, whatever it's called, I was gonna say not banished, but like when they can't go to school because they did something wrong or supposedly did something wrong. So and they never came back after it was done. So she is talked to the head of the school saying, hey, if you can get these boys back to school, we'll get you a job that the school approves and stuff. So she goes, okay. So she ends up talking them to get back into school. She ends up, you know, kind of making them a little bit more popular instead of scary, like what their personality looked like before they were suspended. That's the word. But then she ends up really becoming friends with them, well, most of them. But there's kind of, I think there might be like a love triangle kind of going on between like the 2 guys and the girl. But like there's nothing like, there's no like physical anything. It's more like crushing. So there's nothing going on at all. But I think it's cute. I don't think there's ever been any language or anything in it. So I am enjoying it. And hopefully I will enjoy the 3rd one as well. So it's kind of a mediocre manga series, but I am enjoying it to continue. All right, and then I read one thriller, and I read Drowning by T.J. Newman, which is actually the 2nd book she's written. She wrote Falling, I think that's the 1st book, and I ended up DNFing that one because of language, but I decided to try to give her another chance, and this one still had language, still had words against the Lord. If I was home, I probably would have DNF'd it. I was out, and the story itself did keep me gripped. And I did like, the swearing was in every page. It wasn't one of those books where like you can't get past a page without a swear word. It was like, I would say probably a swear word per chapter, perhaps. So it was excessive, but like for some reason I still read it, even though I probably should have DNF'd it. But I really liked the actual story. It kept me gripped. It kept me like, honestly, without the swearing, it would have been 5 stars. Probably. So this is about a plane that ends up crashing into the ocean in between the Hawaiian Islands. And so it's all about their survival and them waiting to be rescued. And I just loved most of the characters. There's always that one guy that's kind of a jerk and idiot throughout the entire book. And so I did not like his character. Honestly, he was really the only one that was really swearing besides like I think 1 other character. So I'm like, you could have done without those 2 characters. That's okay. Yeah. But anyways, so I did really like the intense moments. I liked the action. It definitely kept coming and kept going in all these situations. So I really liked it. I don't want to do any spoilers, but there's definitely a situation that happens where I think it's 12 or 13 of the 99 passengers end up getting stuck in the airplane as it's going under the water. And so it's very intense. There's definitely some parts that are not super graphic. I would say it's graphic for some people if you can't stand it. But if you can watch like Liam Neeson type of action movies, you can handle this, I would say. But I definitely did enjoy it. And as I said, if there was no swear words, it probably would have been closer to 5 stars. But I'm going to give it 4 stars. There was probably a few parts that were just kind of, I wouldn't say slower, because you do need some slow parts to kind of take a breather in between the action, but it definitely kept me wanting to read, and I read it within 24 hours. So it was good, but really wish it didn't have the language. All right, so the next 2 that I read 2 romances that were just clean. They were not Christian fiction, and I gave both of them 4 stars. They were a little heavy on the kissing scenes, just a little, for my taste. The first one was The Friend Zone by Soraya Wilson. I got this recommendation over at my friend's Oshina's channel. I will link her channel down below, but she said she loved it, and I was like, okay, I'm going to try it because I need some more great love stories. So I did end up really loving it. I believe the kissing scenes were a little on the heavy side for me, but I did enjoy the characters and their friendship. And so it's about this guy who ends up going to this college. It's pretty much the bottom of the barrel college where it's kind of his last chance because he got kicked out of his college for, I think it was anger issues for his football. And so he went to this college to kind of get a second chance at football. So he ends up going, and he ends up kind of flirting with the girl that picks him up and takes him to the field. Well, he comes to find out that she's the coach's daughter. And the coach says you cannot drink, you cannot swear, and you cannot date while you're on the football team. So he's like, great. Like, I kind of like this girl. What am I going to do? So he ends up just becoming really good friends with her. And she has like this super crush on this guy in her classes. And so he's like, hey, listen, you're helping me, tutoring me in my studies. Why don't I tutor you and help you try to win this guy? So they end up he's trying to help her get the attention of this guy. And what ends up is, of course, a love story between the two of them. So it is really cute. I come to find out that I do not like to watch sports, but I do love to read about them, especially romance books. So yeah, I did really enjoy it. I gave it 4 stars. As I said, there's no language that I remember, but the kissing scenes were a little heavy. So the next one that I read was The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. And again, this one, there is, I believe, is there? No, there's not. I was going to say, are there any bedroom scenes? But there isn't. Actually, there is one, but like it's closed door, so you know that it's happening, but it's closed door. They don't describe anything, and it's after they're married. And so I really appreciated that. So it didn't get too explicit. I do know one of her later books after that is explicit, so I'm going to be careful, and don't know how explicit, but I will either fast forward or skip that book entirely. But I did really enjoy this one. This is, again, another football romance. So this one is about a guy who's already in the NFL. He's already huge in the NFL, and he's got a really, really great friend. And this friend, they've been friends, I think, for like 6 years or longer. And she kind of sees, you know, they both date other people, but the truth is they both have fallen in love with each other since pretty much the beginning of their friendship. And so they end up just kind of going along with their lives, thinking that the other one just wants friendship. That's it. That's all they want. And hello, you both love each other. So what happens is he ends up breaking off with somebody else again because he had another girlfriend, ends up breaking it off because the girlfriend ends up making him choose between her and his friend, and he chooses his friend. So obviously that's a big clue. Hello, he loves you. But anyways, there were so many hints. I'm like, girl, he loves you. Guy, he loves you. Just get together. And I loved his nickname. Side note, but I loved his nickname for her. Her name was Brie, so he called her Brie Cheese. I thought that was cute. It was cheesy, but it was cute. All right, but anyways, so this is a fake dating trope. So I don't want to get my fake dating tropes mixed up because I read 2 of them in the same like 24 hours. So that does not help. So I had to think about that for a second because I couldn't remember how they got into fake dating. Now I remember. Okay, so there is drinking in this book. And so Brie and him, they go to a restaurant where they're celebrating one of the football players' birthdays. And so nobody's supposed to drink. I think they're allowed like 1 drink. So they have 1 drink, but she ends up drinking pretty much for the whole team. And so she ends up in the bathroom and pretty much professes her love for her best friend and says that he's in love with her, even though she doesn't know it, but she's too drunk to realize. And she ends up saying it to a reporter. So they end up being in a fake relationship because they are offered a commercial as the 2 of them because they look so cute together as he's trying to pick up her body off the bathroom floor in the restaurant. So they end up deciding to fake date because she could really use the money and he just really wants to get with her. So him and the football team end up getting this whole kind of scheme together to try to win her heart. So I did really love it. I thought it was cute. I think there was a few times of strong language, but it wasn't super strong language. Not that I remember. There could be a few, but it was very minimal. And again, as I said, there's no extra love scenes in it. Kissing scenes I think were a little strong as well on that one, but I did really enjoy both of those books. I gave both those 4 stars. All right, on to Christian fiction. So I'm talking more since I have less books to talk about this month apparently. Or I just have more to say because I'm tired. I'm still tired from camping, and that was 2 days ago. 2 days ago? Yeah, 2 days ago. All right, so on to Christian fiction. So the first one I gave 3.5 stars to, and that was The Hunter and the Valley of Death by Brendan S. McPherson. This was actually the Christian Book Club pick for June. And so I ended up not reading it until like the beginning of July. So yeah, sometimes my brain, I gotta read it sooner. But I did get it finished and read, and I did kind of like it. It took me a while to figure out what was going on in this book. It's a parable about Psalm, of course I can't read it. I think it's, it's Psalm 23, I think. Yeah. So it's a parable about Psalm 23 and how God guides us through the valley of death. And so this hunter falls in love with this woman, and she is on her deathbed. And so he's trying to find a way to cure her because the king, who is representative of Jesus, is not doing anything. He's not healing her. So he ends up going to a witch and dealing in dark magic and saying, I want something to take care of the woman that I love and bring her back to life. So she ends up giving him something to cure her. And if it doesn't work, she also gives him a knife so he could join her in the afterlife. And so it's all about how he ends up taking the knife and going on this journey of trying to kill death, because that's the only way that he can bring both of them back to life. And so it's all about his journey on trying to defeat death and really trying to figure out how Jesus is going to guide him through the darkness, even though he doesn't know it's Jesus guiding him. And I did enjoy it. I did enjoy the second half better than the first half because, as I said, it did take a little while to figure out what was going on. So that's why I give it 3.5 stars. And then also I did finish Romans, but I read Romans in the beginning of the month. And I tend to go right into another book of the Bible. So I went from Romans to Joshua. Now I'm into, what am I into? Daniel. And so my brain is on Daniel. I remember nothing about Romans, unfortunately, because once I'm done with the book of the Bible, I don't know, it's just my brain, it's like finishing an entire book for me. And so I just go on to the next book, and then sometimes I forget. I'm like, oh yeah, I need to talk about that at the end of the month. And my brain. But I am going to try to do a Bible journaling page on it. So I'm going to show you that in my camping vlog, even though technically it's going to be after camping, but I'll still kind of add it into there as kind of the end of the month Romans wrap up. So I will do a Bible journaling page on Romans, but please forgive me because when we do another book of the Bible, I will probably wait until closer to the end of the month to read it, because as I said, I tend to read other books of the Bible after I finish one, and my brain kind of just stays with the book that I'm reading. So I feel so bad, but I will probably either need to reread it or, because yeah, my brain that's how my brain works. It doesn't remember much. It really doesn't. It remembers more in real life stuff than it does in book reading. And yeah, I'll apologize for that. But if we get, well, not if, when we get another book of the Bible, I will wait until the end of the month so I can talk about it more. All right, so the next one, I read a YA book. Oh, I have a copy of that one. Oh yeah, before I forget, I did not finish One Night Enchanted by Claire Delacroix. I didn't even put a dent in it. I just started the second chapter. That's it. I never finished it. I really wanted to finish it for my birthday vlog, but it just never happened, and I don't know when I'm going to get to it again. I don't know. This, again, was one book that I really enjoyed growing up, so I wanted to reread it, but I just haven't had the chance. And yeah, so unfortunately I did write to the author though, and she's sending me a book plate all the way from Canada. So that's awfully nice because I read this like 15 years ago. So that's really nice of her. But yeah, so I do still want to try to read it by the end of the year, but just didn't happen this month. All right. Okay, so back to what I was talking about. I read one Christian YA book, and that was Madness in Wonderland by Tabitha Bolden. This is the first book in the Beyond Wonderland. So far it's a duology. I don't know if it's going to be more, but I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars. This was part of the Beyond the Book Box, which I have kindly been sent by Shannon. She messaged me over on Instagram, and so this is from book box number 1. Yes, book box number 1, because this was June's box. I'm working on July's right now. But this was June's box, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. It's a steampunk version of Alice in Wonderland, and it's very reminiscent of kind of that Tim Burton style Alice in Wonderland. So if you like Tim Burton, I think you'd really enjoy this. So there is some faith elements throughout this book, which I loved. There's this kind of guard that used to work for the Queen of Hearts. Well, I don't think she's called the Queen of Hearts. The Red Queen. She's called the Red Queen. That used to work for her, but he is an adamant believer of the Maker, and so he's trying to help Alice and the Mad Hatter and Rabbit, and there's definitely some twists going on between the characters that I did not see coming. As I said, I love the steampunk aspect. There was definitely some surprises along the way. I kind of guessed like half of it after a while, but I really loved this. It was definitely exciting and entertaining, and I think anybody as a young adult, or even, well, there is some romance, but it's Christian. It's very, very light romance. So I feel honestly I probably would have read this in middle grade. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. And yeah, you should pick it up if you like steampunk, fantasy, Alice in Wonderland retellings. Definitely check it out. Finally getting into books that I actually own. Alright, so the next one is The Best Summer of Our Lives by Rachel Hauck. And I ended up giving this one 4 stars. Very close to 5 stars, honestly. I really enjoyed it. I am not a huge fan of drama, and I'm not a huge fan of summer camp stories, because I've only been one summer in summer camp, so I don't really have that experience. But I enjoyed both of these in this one. Rachel Hauck did a great job in this. This is all about these 4 friends who want the best summer of their lives, but they end up having a college prank go wrong when they're at a college campus before they graduate high school. And so they either have to go and do, either go to prison or do some community service. So one of the friends' mom says, I'll take them off your hands and I'll have them work at my summer camp. So they end up going there, and there's a lot of drama between the friends. Friendships are broken. A lot of secrets end up coming to life, and there is definitely a faith element in it. I would say not a big faith element, but there's definitely one of the characters that definitely has some aspects of her faith questioned and answered. And still questions too. But yeah, she ends up experiencing some visions that kind of hopefully influence her faith. I don't know if we really find that out for sure or not. But I did really enjoy the drama. The drama was a lot, but done really well, I felt like. Because honestly, if this was done in another book, I probably wouldn't have liked it as much. But I did really enjoy it. I definitely enjoyed each of the characters' stories. There was 4 perspectives, and I was able to follow along for the most part. It took me a little while, but I did love each of the characters and finding out all of their secrets, because each one had a secret to reveal. So I did really enjoy it. Also, I had a book review for this during the month, so I will link that down below as well. So I'll let you know which ones have reviews. I think this is the only one so far. Okay, the next book that I read was A Dance in Donnagal, by Jennifer Dybel, and I did read this one with a subscriber friend of mine, Alicia. Thank you so much for reading this book with me. I really enjoyed book reading with you, and I would be happy to buddy read again if you want to. So I gave this one 4 stars. It wasn't as good as her newest release, which was oh, I forgot. What was that called? I have it on my bookshelf somewhere. Wow, brain, really? Oh, The Maid of Ballymaccool. That's what it is. Wasn't as good as that one, but I did still really enjoy it. I felt like the beginning was pretty slow, and so that's why I gave it 4 instead of 5 stars, because it just had a very slow beginning, but it did pick up pace, and I did enjoy it through the rest of the book. So it's about a girl who, her mother passes away, and so she ends up deciding to go back to her mother's hometown. And so she ends up going back to Ireland, where she ends up getting a job as a school teacher. So she ends up teaching these kids, and something happens where everybody in the town is against her now, because it has something to do with her mom. They think she was kind of a loosey-goosey, if you want to use the old-fashioned term. So she's kind of loosey-goosey, and that's kind of the rumor that's going around town. And she's like, why are people thinking this of my mom? And so she's kind of having some backlash with that. She has a terrible, kind of a bully student that's really treating her terribly. And so it's all about kind of who you can really trust as friends in that town, and who like is kind of spreading these rumors. And of course there's a really cute Irish lad in the town that of course I fell in love with. I mean, all those Irish, Scottish areas. So yeah, I did fall in love with him, and he was definitely like stuck with her throughout the entire story, and I really liked him. Kind of a friendship to lovers, I feel like that story was. So it was really sweet. And he definitely helped her out a lot. So yeah, that was a cute kind of Irish love story. All right, the next book, which I actually just finished, and I need to put out a book review for it, which will be out yesterday. So it'll already be out there. But I read The Love Script by Toni Shiloh, and I gave this one 4.5 stars. Still close to 5. I don't know. It was very close. But I love Toni. I mean, I chat with her quite a lot, and I love her personality. She's so sweet, and I love her stories. Her stories are like, it's not, she doesn't put faith on the paper. The faith in these stories are part of the characters' lives, and I love that about them. So this one is about Nevaeh and, wow, am I gonna get his name wrong? Lamont. I knew it started with an L. I was going to call him Langston. It's Lamont. Nevaeh and Lamont. And so Nevaeh is a hairdresser, and she has been working for Lamont's mom. Lamont is the SMA, sexiest man alive in Hollywood. And so he's a big, big star. And so she's been working for his mom because his mom had cancer. And so she's been taking care of his hair. And she's all better now. But she continues doing her hair. Well, about a year into her having appointments with his mom, one day he ends up finding her in the kitchen making soup for his mom because she wasn't feeling well. So when she's leaving the house after making the soup, he's helping her with her makeup case. She trips and falls into his arms. Well, there is paparazzi up in the tree and takes a picture of that. Now, Lamont has been a Christian now for, I think it's the past 5 years. And so he's been really adamant about showing the public that he is really a Christian. He's really changed his ways, and he wants his relationships to be godly relationships. Well, that picture didn't show it that way, and nothing happened. She just tripped. And so the entire world thinks that he has devalued his Christian values. And so he and his agent are trying to figure out how to get back on track, because if his values are questioned, all of his all the companies that he works with for movies and all of the like commercials and stuff that know he's a Christian and wants to work with him, if his values are questioned, they're going to be gone. Those job offers and stuff are going to be gone. So his agent says, we need to put you in a fake relationship. Well, both of them don't really want that, especially Lamont. He's adamant about, I'm using that word a lot today. I don't know, it's a new word, I'm liking it. But he is really wanting to follow God. And he's always like, I don't want to lie and say I'm in a relationship when I'm really not. So he ends up taking a few days, thinking about it, praying about it, asking Nevaeh to pray about it. And so they end up deciding they're going to date for real, to try to make it not as much of a lie. It's still a lie, but just to say they are really dating. So they end up deciding to really date for real. And in 3 months, if they aren't really if they're not feeling a connection, they'll break it off. So they decide to really date, to fake date. And so they end up going together. And I love Nevaeh's character. She really is a kind of a real Christian woman with faith struggles. And because her faith is more along the aspect, which I thought was really cool, of how Toni did this. Toni really took it to a different level. She really took Nevaeh and said, okay, I want her to have faith, but I want her to have kind of that, oh, I was going to say, like, I don't know the word, but like, it's like a cosmetic look at faith where she knew the Lord, she prayed, but she had a hard time finding a church to go to. And not because she didn't find a church that helped her faith. She was looking at the cosmetic look of the church. Like this church doesn't have any Black people. This church doesn't have any people that really fit in with me, or I don't fit in with them. So she kind of had that outlook. So she hasn't really been to a church. She's been to a lot of churches in the past and nothing fit. And so she hasn't been to church in years. And so she's kind of having that struggle of, I don't really need to go to church because, you know, I love the Lord. He's in my heart, but I don't need to go to church. So I love their relationship. I love how each of their faiths grew throughout the book, and how bringing to light certain things just, I don't know, I just felt a huge connection to these characters and how their faith really helped with their growth and with the love for each other. And I really loved it. I loved the side characters, which I'm happy to say that one of them is going to be in the second book, I'm sure. So I cannot wait to read the second book. But yeah, I loved it. I think you will too. If you love contemporary romances, definitely check out Toni Shiloh, because she's one of my favorites and I love her to pieces. All right, so the next one that I read, well, these aren't in any order except for star rating, but the next one that I read was The AllAmerican by Susie Finkbeiner. I have a book review for this one as well. I loved it. So good. Gave it 5 stars. My first Susie book. Again, I love her so much, and I got to meet her and never read a book by her before I met her. Totally skipped my mind, but now I did. So I love this one. As I said before, I don't like to watch sports, but I love that in books. I don't know what it is. So this is about a girl who, she has loved baseball her entire life. She's in the 1950s, and Bertha just wants to play baseball, you know, and where most girls just want to cook and be a housewife, she wants to play baseball. So she decides to try out for the, is it the Sweet Peas? I'm gonna slap myself. Okay, Sweet Peas. So she decides to try out for the softball team. Oops, didn't mean to crash the camera. But so it's all about kind of the behind the scenes look of a softball team around the 1950s. And it was really neat seeing kind of like, she put some research into it. I never knew that softball players back in the 50s had to wear lipstick, red lipstick. They could play like the boys, but apparently they had to wear a red lipstick as they were playing. So that was kind of interesting. Otherwise, they were fined. I'm like, what if you just forget one day? Wow, $5 is a lot for 1950. But anyway, so yeah, there is definitely a lot of history. This is definitely an all-American book. I feel like this is a huge summer read. There was very little romance in it. Really not that much at all. So if you don't like romance, I think this is a great book. Definitely not that much romance, more of a friendship, family type book, and I really enjoyed it. Okay, and then the last 2 were probably my favorites of the month. So the first one is Off the Chain by Janice Thompson. This is the first book in a cozy mystery series, and I loved it. Oh my goodness, it was so cute. So I read this during camping, and again, I read it in like 24 hours. I loved it so much. It was funny and hilarious, and it was cute. And again, this is one where there really wasn't a ton of romance in it. There was definitely some crushing going on between the characters, but there really wasn't a lot of that. So it was so cute, so funny. Definitely check it out if you're a fan of cozy mysteries. So this one is about a veterinary clinic and some goings on around the clinic and around the neighborhood. So this one, I think the series is written by 2 people. So the second one is by a different author, and then the third book is Janice Thompson again. But this one is about a vet tech. And so I gotta tell you the beginning scene, because if this doesn't grab you, nothing will. So this girl, she really wants to rescue dogs. That is her passion in life. That's the calling she feels that God has given her. So she gets a call from one of her friends saying, hey, there's this dog that's stuck in this drainage pipe, and do you want to come and rescue it? And she's like, yeah. So she ends up going with her friend, and her friend's using the flashlight on her phone to kind of try to give her some light as she goes into the drainage pipe. And as she's going in, she sees the dog, and it's mangy, it's ugly, and horribly scrawny looking. and she ends up, first of all, breaking her headlight because she ends up cracking her head against the ceiling of the drainage pipe because she thinks she sees a snake. Not a snake. But then she ends up screaming because of that. Ends up crawling out of the drainage pipe with the pup in hands. This is all in the beginning of the book. And there's a police officer right outside the drainage pipe with her friend. And he says, I heard a scream. I came over. And this entire conversation, this police officer thinks that she is a homeless woman who wants to live in the drainage pipe. And she's trying to tell him, I am not living in the drainage pipe. And he's saying, there's a shelter about 2 miles away. I'd be happy to take you. And she's like, I do not live in the drainage pipe. I am rescuing this pup. And she had the pup in her arms, but she's like dirty and covered in everything. And so he says, okay, ma'am, what's your address? And she goes, I forgot. I moved in last week. I can't remember. So yeah. And then he says, okay, well, do you have your license so we can find out your address? And she says, sure. So she turns around and the car is missing. So that's all I'm going to say because that's the beginning of the book. But just, it's hilarious. It's funny. There is no murder. So if you want a cozy mystery that has no murder in it, check this one out. It's funny. And I love the characters. They were zany and they were so cute. And I really needed kind of that cute, fun type of feeling book. Check it out. I promise you won't be disappointed. It's adorable. All right. And the last book that I'm going to talk about is Finding Us by Tracie Peterson. This is the second book in her Pictures of the Heart series, which I have a review of this book as well on my channel. But this is officially my favorite Tracie Peterson series that I've ever read. I can't get enough of them. And the third book is coming out very soon, within the next month or two. I should be getting mine soon. I hope so because I can't wait. So these books are all about individual different girls in the Brownie Girls, which are Brownie camera girls that are during the Seattle Expo in 1909. And so they pretty much go around the expo taking pictures of people and saying, hey, you can get your pictures. You can buy them at the store. You can buy Brownie cameras, of course, or you can have them sent as a postcard. So these Brownie girls go around, and each of these books has had a lot of action, mystery, intrigue, and beautiful romance and beautiful faith, because Tracie Peterson, again, is a really excellent author at writing faith into her characters' lives. And these are some of my favorite covers of hers. I mean, it's gorgeous, and if you look really closely, there's always like a hidden picture back there. There's like a kind of like a big building back there. Not exactly sure what it is, but it's cool. But anyway, so the series, I love it. If you have always wanted to try a Tracie Peterson series, honestly, I'd start with these because I do love them. Even though I have not read every single one of her books. I wanted to growing up, and then I got so far behind that I gave up. But this is, again, really, really great. I loved it, and I have officially told Tracie that I am adopting her as my aunt because she's great. But yeah, so this is the last book that I read this month, and it was on a high note because I love this one. Loved all the other ones. I mean, anything that was four stars and up were really great. I had a lot of really great books this month. All right, so that is everything. Let me go ahead and show you the ones that I actually own. So these are the ones that I actually own, and honestly, these ones, in the pile, were some of my favorites of the month. So that's always good. Always good when you own the ones that you actually really love. So that's great. Even though, you know, I don't really have a disclaimer, but seriously, the books that I get for review from Baker Publishing, they do Bethany House, Revell, I think Baker really, but it's mostly Bethany and Revell. They put out some of the best books that I read all year long. Not lying. I don't lie about my reviews. Well, I shouldn't anyways. I mean, nobody should. But, I mean, I've only had one DNF from them. And I have been doing book reviews for them for almost 1.5 years now. Not quite. No, not quite. A little over a year. But I've been doing book reviews for them, and I've only DNF'd one book. And I have not given any of them under 3.5 stars, 3 stars, maybe. Mostly 4 and 5. They really put out good stuff. Anyway, so I think I'm done now. I've talked enough. Yeah, it's been a really long video, and it's going to take me forever to edit. And it's getting dark out. So, yeah, I have been talking too much. All right, so let me know what your favorite book was of July. I'd love to know. Also, forgot. Oh my goodness, I forgot. I want to give a huge thank you to 2 friends who gifted me gifts, and I forgot to bring them upstairs to show you. Silly me. But I did want to thank them in this video because I wanted to thank them. So I did get the second book. I have the first book, as this one was sent to me by my friend Chrissy, and I got the second book in the series by my friend Teresa over at CT Read. So that was hilarious. And she bought it before she knew that I got that one. So that was pretty funny. So I got that one from my sweet friend Teresa. And then I also got an adorable, I'll put a picture here, an adorable surprise Princess Buttercup pop figure from one of my subscribers, Jamie. So thank you, Jamie, so much. It was a really big surprise because that was not on my wish list. It was actually on my birthday wish list. I don't know if you got it from there, but I have that for one of my friends, not for YouTube, but I think it's on public. But I was like, how did you know I wanted that? So I don't know if she kind of guessed or what, but it's gonna go up on my Princess Bride shelf for sure. So thank you to Jamie for that. I love it, and it was such a nice surprise to come home. I think I got both of those after I came home from camping. So that was so sweet. Thank you to both of you. I wanted to make sure to give you guys a shout out on my channel. So love you both. Love you all my subscribers, because I love you all. You all are my amazing book family, and I love each and every one of you, and you're all amazing. So I hope you all have a wonderful day. Yeah, I've talked enough. I'm so sorry. I love you. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I will see you all in the next video.